yeah, relationship to one another. And that these emotions hold a very special place in the human heart when particularly uh, potent, powerful, and deeply transformative when the conditions are there in terms of feeling resourced enough, having clear intention. When they're met with awareness and love, they become actually great aids in waking up. Because there's a lot of energy there. Um, and I think particularly with anger, this is I think Audre Lorde refers to it as a surge, a great surging, which I love. I love that language, a surging. That reminds us that we're well, reminds us of our deep sensitivity, but also reminds us of the fact that, you know, innately we do, there is a knowing in us of what's skillful and what's not skillful. And when we see or feel in ourselves an injustice, that part comes up. Yeah, it just comes. So there's a deep integrity to anger. And the work is to learn how to meet it with confidence and allow it to transform in the light of awareness and provide clarity and give us conviction. So I've been exploring whether, you know, apathy, confusion, inertia, paralysis, you know, I think all of these ways in which we struggle to engage with our own suffering and the suffering in the world comes from actually not being able to really honestly, you know, radically, honestly own and allow ourselves to feel our anger. So going back to yesterday's theme, you know, do we trust that awareness is enough to hold a space for all that energy to liberate? So I just, this week, I got this book in the mail by a friend of mine. It's called Love and Rage, The Path of Liberation Through Anger, by my friend Lama Rod Owens, who I was fortunate enough to meet a few years ago on a Generation X Dharma Teachers Conference. And he writes about Tonglen practice in particular. I was very pleased to open the book and see there was a section on Tonglen. I like to think of Tonglen as protection. It allows me to enter into and remain in situations of intense suffering, giving me a way to make this suffering workable and less of a burden. It takes some of the heaviness away. It also takes the edge off. This can be one of our core practices for holding space for ourselves and others. So that really jumped out at me, particularly the first sentence. I like to think of Tonglen as protection. Because my sense is, you know, it, again, going back to the counterintuitive nature of the practice, and bringing in particularly the themes of spiritual death and rebirth. You know, what's dying is the habits to protect, and what's being reborn is our true nature. So it's not even it's not technically not being reborn. It's more like it's being discovered or rediscovered, uncovered, revealed. That actually we are completely not separate, and therefore love, awareness, truth, joy, yeah, all these things we want are actually innate to us. and available when we stop doing all the protecting and the pulling towards and the pushing away. So this thing around protection, often, particularly when I first introduced the practice, sometimes people will say, "Oh, I don't want to bring all that negativity. Like, I don't want to invite all that negativity." And actually, the practice is the completely opposite of that. By breathing in the suffering or taking in the suffering, whatever way works for you, what we're doing is recognizing that there is no one for the negativity to stick to in the first place. And actually, by taking it in, we're purifying it. So we're becoming part of, we're aligning ourselves more and more with this liberative energy and part of this project that's been going on for quite a long time of human beings learning how to skillfully work with energy in pursuit of the good. So it protects us in that it kind of cuts through the illusion of all of these barriers and boundaries, and ultimately aligns us with what we truly are. And as Orshan Shire, I think she's Somali British, poet who Beyonce quotes extensively in her Lemonade album, says, "Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened." So the more and more we align ourselves with reality in doing this practice and other practices aimed at the same thing, the more we become real, kind of like the velveteen rabbit, a bit shabby, but totally real. And we cannot be threatened. We are beyond threat. We are totally protected by the Dharma. Now I wish I'd queued up Beyonce so we could listen, but maybe we'll leave that for a different time. Okay, so we're going to sit. And once again, just to say, at the end there will be time for questions. And because it's our last morning together, I'm going to break with format at the end and ask if we could stop the live stream so people can unmute themselves and say goodbye. So yeah, as we've been doing, just checking in with the body and seeing what shape it wants to take just now. Maybe laying down feels appropriate this morning, or staying seated, or any other position. And if you're already settled in your meditation posture, maybe just taking a few deep breaths by way of supporting arrival, presence. So before doing anything, just seeing how it is to be here with your intention. This morning. How it is to have arrived in the posture, in the group, at the beginning of this practice. And gently inviting yourself to be fully here. So whatever is here this morning, sensations, thoughts, emotions, just welcoming it all in. Holding space for the multiplicity that we are. And then allowing awareness to drop down into the places where the body meets the earth. Feeling the sensations there, dwelling in them for a little while. Perhaps on the out breath, just inviting the body to surrender a bit further into the ground. Gently opening to any qualities in the ground that can support you just now in the practice. And then very gently beginning to connect with the whole of the upper body, rising into space, or the front of the body opening to space above and all around. Opening to the sensations where the body meets space. And the qualities of this spacious, boundaryless place. Inviting any sense of boundary or barrier between the body and space to begin to dissolve, drop away. And if you'd like, you could bring to mind the blue sky if that's helpful. And any beings or protectors who can be with you in the practice. Allowing whatever can be known in awareness to simply arise and pass away in this broad, open, warm, loving space. And then in your own time, beginning to connect with the breath and the heart center. Breathing into the heart center. If you'd like, you could put the hand there, bring some sense of gentle touch, contact. And starting to gently open to whatever is here right now that's unpleasant, painful, unwanted. Breathing into those spaces of contraction or tension in our own bodies, our own being, and beginning to breathe out. Sense of ease, softening, release, relief. as we do this, just noticing how it is, and perhaps seeing if you don't need to apply as much effort as you might be applying, seeing if you can allow the practice to unfold on its own. Simply bearing witness to ourselves in this human situation. And if you are in touch with any sense of ease or liberation, freedom from suffering as you do the practice, just want to invite you to really allow yourself to feel how that is, familiarizing yourself with the qualities of that freedom, that ease. So you can stay at this stage of the practice or move on. It's up to you. Before the next stage, just taking a little bit of time to reconnect with the open space of awareness. And qualities there. Clarity, receptivity. limitlessness. Maybe letting yourself rest back a bit in that space, soften into the space. And then gently bringing to mind someone who you know just now is suffering. In some way. Imagining them maybe here with you in the practice. And giving that a bit of space, just what it's like to bring them to mind, to heart. And then beginning with the breath or any other way that works for you. Imaginatively acknowledging and turning towards, taking in this other being's suffering. Giving back, sending to them whatever they need to find relief from suffering, an end to their suffering. Holding space for them, bearing witness to them in their process, in their struggle. And in their liberation. How is that? Remembering we don't have to do it all at once in one deep breath. It's incremental here, so just little bits at a time. There's no deadline. So feel free to hang out with this person for as long as you'd like. Continuing giving and taking. Or you may want to move on to the next stage, flashing into open awareness for a moment, reconnecting with those qualities of this open space of awareness. And then gently beginning to connect with each other. So everyone here, all 41 beings in this magical space of Zoom and the meditation dome, we might imagine all of us sitting in a tent in a field somewhere together with this shared intention. All of us suffering in our own way. Beginning to breathe that in, take that in. And giving back relief, ease, softness, peace, freedom, alleviation. If imagining a golden or rainbow colored light helps, you could do that. You could imagine bathing the whole group in a warm, healing light. Including ourselves in this. And then including also everyone who is now or in the future maybe watching, listening on the live stream. Possibly another 500 beings, maybe more. The whole Buddha field community and beyond. And then beyond that, the people we know and love in our lives. In your own way, bringing to mind, or perhaps just allowing people to arrive in the heart space. Taking in their suffering, giving back whatever helps. How is it doing it like this, being with suffering in this way? How is it? Expanding even further beyond those we know and love. Other beings we cross paths with or are aware of in some way, and then finally all those beings everywhere, the whole planet, breathing together, known and unknown. Vibrating with all of life and the common wish to be free from suffering. So for the last few moments of the practice, just resting back again in awareness, in openness. Feeling all the pores of the skin wanting to open, be receptive to space. Perhaps taking a few deeper breaths here. Softening. Resting back. And absorbing the fruits of this practice. And ending with a dedication, so giving the merits away. There's nothing and no one to hold on to anything. So bringing to mind an individual or a group that you know could benefit from this intention, this practice just now. May the efforts we've made here this morning, even if we can't feel them or the effects of them, trusting that they have an effect, so may they go towards supporting alleviation from suffering, liberation, freedom, peace. For this person, a group that we hold in our mind, in our heart, and for all beings everywhere. May we all be free, truly free. So do move, stretch, rub, squeeze any parts that are wanting attention. If you have any last questions about the practice, do feel free to drop them in the chat box. Otherwise, go well. It's been lovely practicing with you these last few mornings.
Thank you so much, Singhashri.
You're welcome. You're very welcome, Barbara, Angie. Oh, you're welcome, Vicky. It's my first Buddha field, actually. It's been great. So the live chat is off. If you wanted to ask a question, you could also unmute yourself. Charanalika is asking when my next retreat is. I'm a bit shy to do self-promotion